So if you checked out the last 3 Snare Saturday videos and were reading some of the comments, you may have saw a hint as to what this video is all about. And since the last 3 videos were all on Ludwig acrylites, one from the late 60s, one from the late 70s, and then finally one from the late 90s, early 2000s, it's time to finally play them back to back to see if there really is a difference between them. What's going on, everybody? Nick Costa here, and in this video we are going to compare 3 different acrylites from 3 separate eras. We're going to start out with one from the late 60s, then have one from the late 70s, and finally the Black Galaxy acrylite, also known as the Blackrylite, which was from the late 90s, early 2000s. Now before we dive into this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification. That way you're notified of any additional content that I upload to the channel. So if you checked out the last 3 videos of the Snare Saturday series, and thank you if you have. If you haven't, you should totally check them out. But I wanted to showcase the acrylites in my collection, and I wanted to start out with the oldest one from 1968. This is a Keystone badged Ludwig acrylite, and some folks say acrylites from this era sound the best. So after that video, I wanted to showcase another acrylite from the 70s, one that has a blue and olive pointed badge. And after looking up the serial number, it's safe to say that this drum is from the late 70s and looks like it's around 1978. So of course, the very last drum that I have in my acrylite collection is a replica of the first one that I ever owned, which is from the late 90s. Now the particular one in this video could be from the early 2000s as well, because my very first snare drum, a Black Galaxy acrylite, the very first video of the Snare Saturday series, you saw that I drilled 4 2.5-inch vents into it when I was in high school. So let's dive into the specs of the Ludwig acrylite. Like I've mentioned before, Ludwig was looking for a more affordable option for students in schools. So what they did is they took the Superphonic when it was chrome over aluminum, not when it was chrome over brass. They decided to get rid of the chrome plating and get rid of 2 of the lugs. By doing so, they were able to lower production costs to provide something that was more affordable for both schools and students. This is why if you look for an acrylite, you'll see that they come with cases, snare stands, sticks, and even sometimes method books. So for the longest time, the Ludwig acrylite, nobody was going after it because it was labeled a cheap version of the Superphonic. But over time, people started to realize they have a pretty great sound. And now you're lucky if you can find one for under $200, which is pretty crazy because that Black Galaxy acrylite that's in this video, I got it in 2007, 2008 for $60. So the very first one, the Keystone badge late 60s acrylite. It is a raw aluminum shell. It has 8 bow tie lugs, triple flange hoops on the top and bottom. And since it is from the late 60s, the triple flange hoops are going to be thinner than your average triple flange hoops that you get today. Now, triple flange hoops back then were either 1.6 millimeter or 1.9 millimeter. I can't really remember. So if you know that information, please leave it in the comment section below, letting us all know. And the first one to do so, I will make sure I pin it in the comment section so we can all get that correct information. But just having those thinner hoops can open up the drum a whole lot. It's the same equivalence of having a triple flange hoop and a die cast hoop. Now the next snare drum was a late 70s Ludwig acrylite. This is a blue and olive pointed badge. Once again, a raw aluminum shell with 8 double-sided bow tie lugs and triple flange hoops on the top and bottom. Now, I do not know what the thickness of triple flange hoops were of this era. There's a possibility that they were the same, although I think they were a bit heavier. So once again, if you know that information, leave that in the comment section below. And then, of course, the last snare drum, which is a Black Galaxy Ludwig acrylite, also known as the Blackrylite. It is a raw aluminum shell that is black powder coated to give it that galaxy finish, 8 bow tie lugs, and once again, triple flange hoops. Although with this era up to present tense, triple flange hoops are 2.3 millimeters. Now, each one of these drums has the round internal puck muffler. So besides the possibility of the shells being a slightly different construction and the hoops being slightly heavier, depending on the year, they are all Ludwig acrylites. Now, to try to level the playing field as much as possible without altering any of these drums, I decided to put the same drum head combination on all 3 of them. And this combination is my preferred drum head combo, which is a Remo Ambassador X coated on the top and an Ambassador snare side on the bottom. To take it one step further, I put a set of Canopus vintage wires on all 3 drums. This is their 20 strand version. And I decided to put these on because I'm a fan of the Vic Firth vintage snappy wires, which were made by Canopus, and I'm pretty sure they're the same exact thing. So just like every other video in the Snare Saturday series, I'm gonna play each drum through a few different tunings. I'm going to start out in a lower tuning and work my way up to a higher tuning. Now the difference with this video, however, is that while I'm in a specific tuning, I will transition from one drum to the next. That way you can compare the differences back to back. And of course, since each drum has an internal damper, I will start out with it disengaged, play each drum at a time, and then engage it, once again, play each drum at a time. That way you can hear the difference that it makes. So enough of me talking, let's dive into playing. And there you have it. 3 different acrylites from 3 different eras to determine if they do sound different from one another. Now, I have to be honest with all of you. I had a really difficult time keeping these snare wires engaged. And a lot of folks will say that's because of the throw-offs on all of these drums. But the earlier Snare Saturday videos where I'm showcasing each individual drum that had completely different snare wires on, I did not have this problem. So I don't know if it's something with the snare wires or with the black string that comes with the snare wires, but these wires kept disengaging and getting looser and looser the more that I played them. Another thing is I'm pretty sure that these shells are different constructions. Even the 60s and 70s are different. So as I was tuning each drum, what I noticed is if I got them all to be the same exact pitch, once I engaged the snare wires and hit each drum, they were different pitches from one another, which doesn't make sense. If the drums are tuned the same, why are they different pitches? It's because they have different overtones from one another. So that could be the shell construction. Most definitely the hoops can affect that, but they're the same exact heads and the same exact snare wires. So it has to be something with the shell or the hoops. Now to get them to be that same sound, they were tuned a little bit different from one another. But when you hit the drum with the snares engaged, they were all the same pitch. But either way, I would love to get your feedback and what you thought of each drum, so leave that in the comment section below letting me know. And it doesn't mean that you had to like one drum over the others. You might have liked one in a specific tuning with the muffle engaged or disengaged. Either way, leave it in the comment section and let me know. Now, if you are interested in getting a acrylite for yourself and you're not sure of which era to get, hopefully this video helps you, although I don't have a modern day acrylite to compare all of these to, which again is another great option. But if you have any questions and you are looking for a vintage or older acrylite, feel free to leave that in the comment section as well, and I'll try my best to answer them. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to hear each drum in a broader tuning range with the original snare wires that were on them, I put links to those videos in the description below for you to check out. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see some of the older Snare Saturday videos from this series, I put a link to the playlist in the description below. And to make it a bit easier, I'll have it pop up right here. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up. That way it makes it a little bit easier for others to find it. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this video on comparing Ludwig acrylites. And until next time, see you later.